Dormail, home of a great night's sleep.
Hello, Wednesday afternoon, Joy.
You look gorgeous, Sherry.
First of all, we must say, come to our show on the 28th of June. NIMAX have issued some more tickets, so there's more tickets available. We are so excited. So
28th of June. 28th of June, next Monday. Only a few days left now. Only a few days left.
There's no escape. We will find you if you don't come to the show.
At the Duchess down. You can get us at the NIMAX website, or you can get us on the Amazing Wonderbirds website, and you just have to press a button, then you can buy tickets. I must say, though, Sherry, you look particularly gorgeous today.
Thank you. You're correct.
Yes, I'm correct. I love your jacket. I mean, probably every show I always say to you, I love what you're wearing, but I really do love that jacket.
I think we should say it is an amazing jacket. I have to say, it's been with me a long time, and it's you can't see it, but on its sleeves, it's like a jigsaw, if you can see, all the way around.
Oh, wow.
And the bottom of the jacket is a jigsaw as well. And then it's got like I don't know if you can see the back. You probably can't see the back, can you?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And it's black velvet buttons, and it's a black velvet. I've had it a long time, and it still looks exact. I've got a picture of me in it 300 years ago, and it still looks the same as it did then. But that's, when you buy a good piece, it will go on.
Who's
my mother always taught me that.
It's true.
Darling, whose jacket is it? Whose jacket is it, darling?
It's a Versace jacket.
Fabulous.
There you go.
My mother always taught me, like if you buy one piece, because she was a model, that piece you got. Now, these days, of course, that was before, all the shops we have now, like Primark and, what I call the throwaway clothes, that become tea towels. Yes. Because they're so thin, and, and when you wash them, they lose all their power, and because they're not made very well. And they didn't have those kind of shops then. You bought well when you could, and you kept them forever.
Sherry, I must ask you, she and I were having this conversation actually the other day, and Harriet, this is a very interesting question. I don't like going into, these sort of like the vintage shops or the old charity shops. I don't like those. Some people absolutely swear by them, but there's something about buying something new. I always feel that. What do you feel about that?
I love
vintage is very strong now, and I always go in because I like to look at period clothes, whether you're talking about the 60s, which are period to some people, and the 50s and the 40s. I love looking at them. But just to go away from that a second, I was in a shop the other day, and I suddenly realised there was one changing room with a curtain, and that's all there was in this little shop. And I thought, oh, I remember those days. But of course, you were not allowed to go in it. But then, do you remember the days when they changed all the changing rooms into one big changing room?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Hated it.
Yes. And you had to get your knickers out and everything in front of everybody.
Yeah.
All that
Communal
body. I mean, I thought
changing rooms.
That was just horrible, and everything hanging out. I mean, who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
Didn't last very long. They changed.
No. I remember Miss Selfridge did that, didn't they, for a while?
Yes. Great big enormous drink, and you all had to stand in a corner by your chair so nobody saw that your knickers had gone grey.
Yes.
And your bra had gone grey, which they always do in the washing machine, as we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how ashamed you were. It was very shaming, wasn't it?
It was horrendous.
I still find it shaming in a dressing room, even on my own, because they have mirrors all the way around you, and you see what you look like from behind, and
it's a shock. It's such a shock, isn't it?
It's that.
Yes, I hate that. I remember John Lewis had these mirrors, and I always looked from behind. I always hated myself from behind. I don't know why, whether that was like a phobia or
And can
something.
I just say how awful it is that we hate ourselves looking at ourselves? It's so wrong that we feel that. I do too, but
nobody's arse from behind looks wonderful.
Well,
No.
You tell me one arse you can look at and go,
Very true.
"Wow."
But Sherry, I want to know about your mother, because my mother was also a beauty queen. And my mother used to say, God gave me nothing but my looks. And she was so confident about the way she looked.
Oh.
And we're not, because there was no social media in those days, everybody, if women like my mother and your mother knew, and I don't know about yours, Harriet, or yours, Dee, but they were so confident in the way they looked because they didn't have anyone they didn't compare themselves to others.
No,
like
but
we
my
do.
mother had a belief in herself. That's what it
And
was.
my mother too.
She was wearing a bikini at 80. I haven't worn one since I've been 5. Or a swimming costume. My mother was just who she was. And I've told you before, she used to say to me, "Will you stop it? Stop being a downer on yourself. Your alternative is dead. So get on with it." And she used to say that to me every time. And she just had a self-belief. Now, where mine left me, which was very young, and why it left me are, there's lots of reasons why my belief left me. But my mother never lost that. And I just admired that. And she's given me the strength to be the person I am.
Do you feel as performers, when we get dressed up in a costume, it kind of gives you that belief back? It gives us the front. It gives us the protection to sort of get out there and do stuff. Mine left me a long time ago as well. I don't have that self-belief either. But once I've got my makeup on, a look on, then I feel I'm okay.
Because you can be somebody else. It's almost like you're hiding behind that.
What's given me my belief back is filters. Because you can filter yourself to the point where you look 10.
Yes,
and you go, that's all right. I can't even see me.
Just one filter that can make yourself look so much younger that you do look younger, and it's so weird. But the filter that I can put on my face, I put on my face to make me look younger. I never looked like that when I was that age anyway. I never looked as good as that.
But the worst scenario with that is, so you go, then you go in the bathroom and you go, oh shit, who's that?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Where did that other woman
stranger
go?
is smiling back at you.
Such a
See
shock,
who is
isn't
coming
it?
in. We need to be rescued from ourselves, I think.
We do. Well, this young man I've actually met recently through a friend of mine, and he is very inspirational because he was running his dad's construction business, and he's always had a sort of an ambition to be a singer, and he's got a fantastic voice. And he decided at the age of 40 he would go for it, even though he was married with kids and everything. The family were very supportive, and he went from running that business to singing with Sir Paul McCartney at the Palace for the Queen.
Wow.
And his name's Michael Armstrong. So Michael, it's lovely to see you. We've got so much to talk to you about, because you did what many, many people aren't brave enough to do, which was follow your dream and become a singer, even though you had a family and, kids and a lovely wife, and you're running your dad's business. And suddenly at the age of 40, you thought, well, I'm going to go for it. And how exciting was that? And since then, things have really taken off for you. So, and you've actually sung with your hero, Sir Paul McCartney, at the Palace for the Queen. My goodness, what could be better than that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was brave or foolish, the decision. I guess only further time will tell that. Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy few years, I guess, crazy 10 years or so. I'd always loved music, and I was convinced between the ages of 10 and maybe 20 that I was going to be a famous pop star and rock star, as most people are at that age. But I thought I was pretty good at writing songs and playing instruments, and other people told me I was. But I think when I dropped out of university, and I didn't tell my parents, and I was kind of just making out I was going, but then, because I was still living at home, making out I was going and then sneaking back in when they went to work. And I got found out after about 6 months by my dad.
Oh.
And he said, okay, well, they were very supportive, my parents, of being a musician, but he said, why don't you, rather than being a hippie at home, you better come and work with me and earn some money, like any good dad should do, and like I would tell my children now. And my dad ran a construction company in London, and so I went to work with my dad, not doing any physical building. I'm not going to pretend I can do anything, because I couldn't even put a shelf up in case my wife is watching, but more on the management. Yeah, and the management. I was doing the management and the account side, and I think John Lennon said, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." And that sums it up perfectly. I got married, I got a mortgage, I had 3 children, and all of a sudden this kind of part-time job was pretty important. And 15 years kind of passed, nearly 20 years passed. And then a series of events, during that time I'd continued to write music and play music, and record music and kind of hawk it about the place, but never really got anywhere with it. And then a series of events came just as I was leading up, about 38, 39 years old, which gave me the opportunity to follow my dreams, like you said. And those events were, my dad had a heart attack and didn't want to carry on, was unable to carry on really with the building business. And because my heart was never really in it, it was just, I just fell into it, as, like I said, life kind of happens and you fall into these things. And I didn't want to carry it on by myself. The kind of economic downturn was happening with all the banks collapsing and things like that. So the business was drying up a little. I had my own health scare with some precancerous cells when I had a bowel check. I was all right, but I think all those kind of things make you think about life. Of course they do, and and longevity. And at the same time, I met a lady called Lisa Davies, who had worked in the music business since she was a young girl, had ended up being the head of Sony Epic Promotions during the 80s, promoting the likes of Michael Jackson and Billy Joel and Meatloaf and ABBA and all these huge stars. And she loved my music and said we could do something. And so I was kind of met with this fork in the road. Do I continue this hugely? And it was a very successful building company. It got me a nice house and was paying for my children's education. And my wife was very happy not having to work. And do I continue with this great business, or do I decide to become a rock star at the age of 40? And of course I took the latter.
It's a no-brainer. Can I ask you, did you always sing as a little boy? Has it always been within you then?
Yes, I can remember driving around in my parents' car. They had cassettes in those days. You're probably too young to remember them, but they had cassettes in the car.
We love you already.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that.
They had the Beatles' Red and Blue album, greatest hits albums, in their car.
Yeah.
And my brother and I would sing along to them and be glued. It wasn't like nowadays. The only time you could see your pop stars was on Top of the Pops on a Thursday night. You'd be glued to that. And then on Sunday, you'd have the top 40 countdown, which you'd all record again on cassette illegally. And so, I was obsessed with music, and I'd save my pocket money up and go and buy a vinyl, as it was in those days. And eventually picked up a guitar and started to play that. And within a few months, I was writing songs. They weren't very good, but that's what I was doing.
But did you do gigs and things when you were younger? How did that sense of performing start?
Once I could play the guitar, I kind of taught myself to play the piano during rugby lessons at school, because I was a terrible. I love watching sports, but I'm a terrible sportsman. I don't like being wet, cold and muddy, and I don't like being hurt. I don't like big men running at me trying to hurt me. I can't think of anything worse.
No.
You're very girly,
sense.
aren't you? You're very girly. That's all I have to say.
Keep going,
to you.
That's okay, as long as I don't. I'm a coward. Let's be honest.
So you learned to play the piano during that time?
Yeah. My school were very forgiving. They saw that I had absolutely no talent on the rugby field, and so they said as long as I didn't go home, then I was allowed to stay in the music room. And so I taught myself to play the piano, listening to Beatles songs and Billy Joel during that period. So, yeah, performing. Once I'd learned to play the guitar and a bit of piano, I actually got a job at the Holiday Inn Hotel in Sutton, Surrey, which wasn't far from where I lived.
Yeah.
And I, from the age of about 15, for about 2 years, I played in the bar there on a Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Friday, Saturday, Sunday evenings. And my brother joined me. My brother played a bit of bass and he can also sing, so he was harmonising with me and things. So that was probably my earliest performances.
So when you first got to that moment when you decided you were triggered with health issues and various other things and life choices to make that choice, where were you playing then? Where was your voice then that people could hear it? What happened?
I'd been doing the odd kind of pub gig, you know, sometimes with a band. I'd had various bands and we played in pubs and venues, but not playing my own music, which was what my dream always was. You know, it's good fun playing other people's music, but when you're a songwriter, you want other people to hear your music. So you slip your own one in every now and then, but obviously, you know, if you're at a party or something, people don't want to, you know, they want to hear something they know or something that's popular. So yeah, but I was doing the odd pub gig, but other than that, not a lot.
So
that was when
when
it started.
how did Lisa find you, Lisa Davis? What was the next step? Because obviously she was the person that made you take that long step. So where were you when you connected with Lisa? What happened?
Lisa also plays guitar. She plays guitar in a cover band, and someone asked me if I'd come along and play with their band, which happened to be Lisa's band. They invited me along to help out. I turned up at Lisa's house and the walls were covered with gold discs and photographs of her with Michael Jackson, and Cliff Richard, and all these famous people. And I thought she was either a groupie or a major in the music business, and either way, it was worth getting to know her better. So I gave her a CD, and it was actually her husband's that listened to it a couple of months later and really, really liked it. And that was when she kind of got back in touch with me.
So
Lisa said
at the palace with the Queen and Paul McCartney. What was, I mean, because it all obviously accelerated. There's so much I want to ask you, apart from how your family coped with you suddenly becoming a singer that doing a proper job. But how did that escalate to that, to all these wonderful things happening?
Well, that's an incredible story. Lisa, as I said, she was the head of PR, and she now runs her own PR business. And one of her clients, long-term clients, is Cliff Richard. And it was the Queen's Jubilee concert in 2012, was it? Yeah, 9 years ago. That must have been the last Jubilee. And of course, Cliff always gets invited to these events because he's a legend. Yeah. And so Lisa somehow managed to get me to come along as well. I was kind of helping her out at the time, as well as doing the music stuff. I was helping her out with a promo business because I needed some work. And she got me along to the Buckingham Palace concerts, and it was, you know, everyone was a who's who in the music business, you know, and they were just wandering around. And my absolute musical hero is Paul McCartney. He's probably the reason I ever picked up a guitar or played the piano or started writing songs. I adore that man. And I don't think you could ever possibly dream that you'd ever meet Paul McCartney. He's probably one of the most famous people on the planet. But we was there at the Queen's Jubilee concert, and obviously I was there for rehearsals. I was there for the whole weekend, and I'd noticed that the day after Cliff was there, McCartney was doing his sound check the next morning. And so even though I didn't need to be there till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was there at about 7:30 in the morning, there with the cleaners. And Stevie Wonder's band sound checked first, and I'm standing watching Stevie Wonder and his band sound check just with a few cleaners, and then McCartney's band came out and stood next to me and watched Stevie Wonder sound check as well. So I'm like, I love these guys. No sign of McCartney though. And then they were next up, and McCartney came on and he sound checked, and I was probably amongst 5 people watching him, and I think I was singing louder than him, even though he had a microphone, making myself very obvious that I was there. And afterwards he came down over to me and said, "Hi, I'm Paul." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, man." You know, it was like one of the most emotional experiences of my life. He was lovely. Wow. And when he walked off, I broke down. I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. I can remember every flick of his eyebrow and every, hey, you know, it was just, you just can't believe it. And then And then I was just around him for the next 2 days. He was there. He was wandering around. He nicknamed me Rockstar because I gave him a CD. Why wouldn't I? You know, hey,
Yeah.
how you doing, man? You know, hey, and all this. And I'm a bit of a mischief maker. I can't deny it. If there's mischief to be found, I normally find it. And McCartney was obviously headlining the show that day. And I don't know if you remember watching it, but the last song he played was Obla Dee, Obla Da. And as he began to sing it, all the stars of the day came out from either side of the stage at Buckingham Palace and to join in with the chorus. So I'm standing backstage and out walks Stevie Wonder, Tom Jones, Elton John, Gary Barlow, Robbie Williams, Kylie, just Ed Sheeran, you know, everyone. And the very last people onto the stage were the military wives. And there's about 30 of them and they're all dressed in black. And I had a black suit on and I thought, well, it's now or never. So I literally just mingled in with the military wives and I walked out onto the stage and I sang Obla Dee, Obla Da with Paul McCartney and just about every other legend in the music. And I was doing it some of that so my mum could see, you know. And all well and good. And then the song finished and I thought, uh-oh, what am I going to do now? You know, the Secret Service are going to come and arrest me or shoot me or something. And before I knew it, I'm kind of shuffled into a lineup and along comes Her Majesty the Queen. And I got introduced to her as one of the military wives. Took my hand and didn't bat an eyelid.
Oh my God!
I tried to watch the video back when I got home and I could just about make me out. And I thought, oh, he didn't get a good shot of me. But then about 3 days later, I think it was Hello magazine, did like a 20-page spread. And the center spread was a picture of the Queen and Prince Charles, Gary Barlow, Cheryl Cole, and directly behind them, you can just see my grin. Like,
Oh no!
so I got
That's
perfect
fabulous.
evidence that I was there.
Well, I'm first of all, I want to say to you, I think it's amazing you taught yourself how to play the piano, because I taught myself how to play the piano, but I can still only play Little Donkey. And believe me, that doesn't go down well at parties when people have drunk. Well, actually, it sometimes does. But anyway, that's a different story. So what I want to ask you now, with everything that's happened to you, what do you see in your future? What do you see, say, for instance, in 5 years or maybe 10? What do you want to happen next?
Oh, that's a difficult question. What do I want to happen next? I mean, I'm just about to release my third album, so I'm hoping that will be successful. And you know, I just want to be able to continue to write and record music. And I've been very lucky. I've got, you know, people go out and buy my music and really enjoy it. So from 10 years ago, when only my mum and dad would hear it, to now, you know, a few thousand people or whatever.
What about duets? Have you done duets with people? And who would you want to do it with?
Oh, goodness. I mean, there's so many people. I mean, I love Bob Dylan. I don't suppose Bob Dylan's ever going to duet with me because it's difficult to duet with Bob because he's Bob, but he's one of my great musical heroes.
And also, Michael, you help lots of young people now in the music industry, don't you?
I do, yeah. I think just going back to duets, I'd love to duet with James Taylor. He's got one of the greatest voices of all time.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be absolutely fantastic?
Cool.
We run out of time. Make that happen.
Yeah, just quickly. You know, I like to. You know, there's so many businesses. Maybe it's the same in yours, where the elder generation, which I am now, should help out the younger generation. And so what I've tried to do is, whenever I put a band together, I try to use young musicians. And I've always given, if they're usually songwriters themselves, and what I do is, rather than have them as a support act, because half the time, you know, audiences don't watch a support act, I will have them in my band, and then I tend to leave the stage in the midpoint and let them play one or two of their songs, so the audience doesn't go anywhere. So I find that really helps them. So I've tried to do that with quite a few young guys.
Brilliant.
Well done.
Well, you must come back and see us again. You've been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
Thanks for having me.
And try Little Donkey. It's quite good at parties.
It is.
On the
you.
next
Bye,
album.
Michael.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye. Bye.
I think you should release that at
people.
Christmas. You need to release that at Christmas, Sherry, Little Don.
Yes,
Wonderbirds.
I will.
I
I,
think you
I've
should.
often thought about it. Yeah.
Great idea.
I think perfect.
So we have the wonderful Rachel Gold coming in to join us on Friday. So we'll see you then. Have a happy Thursday.
Bye, girls.
Bye.
Bye, darlings.
Dormail, home of a great night's sleep.
Saporista want to take your taste buds on holiday. Treat yourself or someone special to the wonderful taste of the Mediterranean. Visit saporista.com for delicious tasting, authentic food and drink from small local artisans. Type wonderful in the checkout for a 20% discount.